The Impact of Rape on Women by Carolyn Ofterheady. What is rape? Rape is a forced sexual act where the victim is not consenting to the act or is underage. In the United States, 96,000 cases of rape are reported to the police, but the actual number is thought to be much higher. Most rapists are men, and most victims tend to be women. Approximately 1 in 6 women are raped at some point in their lives. Around 71% of rapes are committed by someone the woman knows. This is a pie chart showing rates of rape in different ethnic groups. American Indians have the highest rate at 28%, and then African Americans at 23%. Next is white Americans at around 20%, and then Hispanic Americans at 15%, and the lowest is Asian Americans at around 12%. Trauma and stress of rape. The effect of rape goes farther than just physical injuries. Physical injuries include bruises, scratches, STDs, etc. The psychological effects of rape occur immediately after the assault and can last forever. The first week after the assault is extremely distressing for the victims. Typically, the victim's stress rises for another 3 weeks, then peaks for about a month, and then starts improving. 94% of victims qualified for a clinical diagnosis of acute stress disorder around 12 days after the assault. The trauma of rape can stay with the victim for 18 months or longer. Victims usually have more anxiety, depression, self-esteem problems, suspiciousness, self-blame, sexual dysfunction, flashbacks, and problems sleeping. Other health issues are women who have been raped usually have more long-term health problems than other women. A study showed 390 women who were victims of rape had poorer physical well-being for at least 5 years after the assault. The study also revealed these victims made twice as many visits to the physician. Some women develop eating disorders after the assault. Rape that has been happening for years with someone close to the victim, like a family member or child or spouse, can lead to psychological stress disorders. Shame and isolation. Rape can make victims scared of the world. They are no longer trusting of others or themselves. Relationships and intimacy become difficult, leading victims to be more isolated. Rape can make the victim feel powerless, scared, and vulnerable. Even if the victim knows it is not their fault, she can still feel shame and guilt. An example of feeling guilt is, if I did not drink so much that night, I could have prevented this. Examples of shame are the victim feeling dirty or damaged. Victims may try to numb or avoid their feelings about the trauma. Example, victims may have trouble concentrating, feel physically shut down, feel separated from their body, participate in risky activities, abuse drugs and alcohol, etc. Rape trauma syndrome. RTS is a pattern of problematic physical and psychological symptoms. A variety of post-rape physical and emotional traits that many victims share. This explains the actions of rape victims right after the incident and the long-term effects that their incident has on them. RTS is a form of PTSD, and approximately 1/3 of victims experience some form of PTSD. This syndrome was discovered by Ann Burgess and Linda Holmstrom in the 1970s. They conducted a 6-year study of rape victims. The study showed victims experienced 2 phases of behavior, the acute phase and the reorganization phase. The acute phase occurs within hours of the assault. Victims either exhibit emotional excitement or emotional flatness. Emotional excitement can be crying, anxiety, or inappropriate laughing and smiling. About half of victims experience excitement. The other experience emotional flatness. This is when the victim appears calm and shows no emotions. The reorganization phase is long-term, can take weeks, months, or years. This is when the victim is trying to cope with the memory of their trauma. During this time, victims usually experience fear, flashbacks, and nightmares. Social reactions questionnaire. Women receive a variety of responses from others, including family, friends, law enforcement, when they admit to being a victim of sexual abuse. Women who receive more negative responses tend to have poorer psychological outcomes. There is a link between social reactions from others regarding the assault and stress trauma-related distress. Example, negative responses are connected to PTSD and self-blame. The SRQ is a 46-question list that asks victims about the responses they received when they disclosed they were raped. Sexual assault on college campuses. 1 in 5 women in college experience sexual assault. Assault is more likely to occur in the first 2 years of college. Gay, bi, and trans women are more likely to be assaulted than heterosexual women. Only 1 in 5 students assaulted reported to the police. And the impact of sexual assault on campus. Like any other woman affected, they are prone to PTSD, depression, and anxiety. If they have trouble reporting the assault, this could lead them to fall behind in school because they are not getting the help they need. The possibility of seeing the rapist in class, dorms, etc. makes it harder to move on. And STDs and pregnancies can also be a result of sexual assault. And these are my references. And that's it.